Have you ever found yourself in this bizarre situation? You're staring at a blank document, a pair of running shoes, or a mountain of laundry. You know you need to do the thing. You even want to do the thing. You've made the decision. Your brain, in theory, is on board. It wants the sweet, sweet dopamine hit of accomplishment. It craves the feeling of a clean apartment or a finished project. Your brain wants change, so why can't you start? It feels like there's an invisible wall between your intention and your action, and you're just stuck, staring at it. This isn't just you being lazy. There's a fascinating, and slightly frustrating, battle happening inside your skull every time you try to begin something new. Your brain, this incredible organ that can learn languages and compose music, sometimes acts like a stubborn toddler when faced with a new task. It desperately wants the reward, the change, the shiny outcome, but it throws a tantrum at the thought of actually getting up and doing the work. Let's imagine a little character inside your head named Bob. Bob works in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive suite. His job is to plan, make decisions, and get things moving. Now, Bob gets a memo. We're going to start learning Spanish today. He's excited. He imagines sipping sangria in Madrid, impressing everyone with his flawless accent. He's all for this change, but to actually start, he needs to send a request down to the older, more primitive part of the brain. Let's call it the lizard brain lounge, where a grumpy security guard named Gus works. Gus's only job is to conserve energy and avoid anything uncertain or difficult. His motto is, if it ain't broke, and it doesn't involve immediate food or safety, don't do it. So when Bob's enthusiastic memo, "Let's learn Spanish," arrives, Gus just squints at it. Spanish, he grumbles. That sounds new and hard. It requires effort. What are we doing right now? Watching cat videos? That's safe. That's easy. That's low energy request denied. And just like that, you find yourself scrolling on your phone for another hour, even though a part of you is screaming to open that language app. This is the core of the difficulty in starting tasks. The conflict between your thinking brain that desires growth and your ancient brain that craves comfort and predictability. The reason why starting is so hard boils down to this internal friction. Your prefrontal cortex, Bob, has to overcome the immense inertia of your basal ganglia, Gus. It's not about a lack of desire. It's about the perceived activation energy. Think of it like trying to push a giant boulder. The hardest part is getting it to move that first inch. Once it's rolling, momentum helps you out. Starting a task, especially a new or challenging one, requires a huge burst of cognitive and emotional energy to overcome Gus's resistance. This brings us to a huge misconception, the motivation versus action debate. We often think, I'll start when I feel motivated, but neuroscience suggests this is backward. Motivation isn't a magical fairy that sprinkles inspiration dust on you. It's often the result of action, not the cause. The feeling of motivation is largely driven by dopamine, a neurotransmitter that's released when we anticipate or receive a reward. When you just sit there thinking about the task, Gus, the security guard, is in full control, and dopamine levels are low. But if you can trick him, just for a second, and take one tiny action, your brain releases a small bit of dopamine. This makes you feel good and, critically, makes the next action slightly easier. Action creates its own motivation. The psychology of starting is really the psychology of tricking Gus. Your brain's resistance to change is a protective mechanism. Conserving energy meant you'd have enough left to run from a saber-toothed tiger. Your brain is hardwired to prefer the known path, even if that path is covered in procrastination and dirty dishes. It sees the new habit not as an opportunity for growth, but as a potential threat and a waste of precious energy. This is precisely why we procrastinate. Procrastination is an emotional regulation strategy. When you think about that big, scary task, you feel a little bit of anxiety, discomfort, or boredom. Your brain, wanting to get rid of that negative feeling immediately, seeks a distraction. The temporary relief you get from avoiding the task reinforces the procrastination habit, making it even harder to start next time. It's a vicious cycle powered by Gus's desire for immediate comfort. The neuroscience of motivation shows us the way out. You can't just yell at Gus to get with the program. You have to be clever. You have to make the task seem so small, so non-threatening, that he doesn't even notice. This is the action initiation solution. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to write a 10-page report. That's a giant red flag for Gus. Instead, say, I'm just going to open a new document and write one sentence. Don't say, I'm going to run 5 miles. Say, I'm just going to put on my running shoes. This is the 2-minute rule. Make the task so ridiculously easy that your brain can't justify saying no. By taking that tiny first step, you get the boulder rolling. You generate a little dopamine, which quiets Gus down and gives Bob, your executive brain, a chance to take control. Action, no matter how small, is the key that unlocks the door. So, the next time you feel that invisible wall, remember the battle between Bob and Gus. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Take the smallest, most laughably easy step you can think of. Open the book, write one word, do one push-up. Because starting isn't about having willpower. It's about outsmarting your own ancient energy-hoarding brain. If you enjoyed this little trip inside your own head and want more tips on how to understand your brain to build a better life, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.